Some players are remembered for what they achieved, others for what they destroyed. Mario Balotelli is remembered for something more than both. Before the headlines, before the memes, before the chaos that followed him everywhere he went, there was a kid born on August 12, 1990 in Palermo, Italy. Born to Ghanaian parents, he only officially became Italian at age 18 due to legal adoption rules. That detail matters, because identity was never simple for him. At 3 years old, he was placed with the Balotelli family. Football became more than a game. It became structure, escape, and for a while, the only thing that gave him clarity. By his teenage years, the talent was already impossible to ignore. At 15, he debuted for Lumezzane in Serie C. At 17, he was signed by Inter Milan under Jose Mourinho. And this is where the story really starts to split. At Inter, he wasn't slowly introduced. He was thrown into elite football and immediately started affecting games. In 2008, at just 18 years old, he scored in the Coppa Italia against Juventus. He was already scoring in Serie A and Champions League matches, playing like a player who didn't understand fear. But even then, problems started to appear. Mourinho publicly criticized his attitude, training issues, discipline problems, friction with senior players. He wasn't behaving like a young talent developing. He was behaving like someone who already felt the destination was guaranteed. Then came a breaking point. April 2010, Champions League semi-final versus Barcelona. Inter advanced to the final, but Balotelli is heavily criticized for his attitude after the match. He throws his Inter shirt to the ground. Fans turn against him. Mourinho loses patience. That summer, Inter sell him. In August 2010, Manchester City signed Mario Balotelli for around £24 million. This is where the global version of his story begins. At City, he doesn't just become a player, he becomes a headline machine. In a Europa League match versus Villarreal, he gets a red card just minutes after coming on. In December 2010, training ground incidents already begin surfacing in English media, but then comes the contrast. Pure brilliance. Manchester derby, he scores twice in a 6-1 win against Manchester United. After his first goal, he lifts his shirt. Why always me? That moment defines him more than any statistic ever could. It wasn't just celebration, it was frustration, sarcasm, defiance, and confusion all at once. But the same player who destroys United at Old Trafford can also lose control just as fast. Red cards, inconsistency, disciplinary issues, and a career that constantly swings between brilliance and chaos. Still, his peak at City is real. He leaves City in January 2013. AC Milan becomes the reset. In his first months back in Italy, he scores 12 goals in 13 Serie A matches. For a short period, it looks like the narrative is changing, like control is finally catching up to talent. But football doesn't rewrite personalities, it only reveals them over time. By 2014, inconsistency returns. At the 2014 World Cup, Italy crash out in the group stage after losses to Costa Rica and Uruguay. Balotelli scores against England, but the team collapses. And so does the optimism around him. After Milan, the pattern repeats. Liverpool. One Premier League goal. Nice, short resurgence, then instability again. Marseille, Monza, Adana Demirspor. Flashes of brilliance, but never continuity. Everywhere the same story. A player who can change a match in seconds, but not a season. The uncomfortable truth is that Balotelli was never just a football failure or wasted talent. He was a player constantly living in contradiction. Elite ability, unstable consistency, global expectation, personal identity pressure, genius moments, emotional collapse. And football doesn't really have a category for that. It only understands control, repetition, predictability. Because the real question was never whether he had talent. He did. Balotelli wasn't just chaos. He had to work hard, even when the world didn't see it. The media showed his mistakes, but not the pressure he grew up under. In the biggest moments, he did things others couldn't. Maybe he never reached his full potential, but he left moments football will never forget. And that alone is his true legacy.